In an industry where every design choice can influence safety, efficiency, and also product quality, hygienic design doesn't just matter, it's a real game changer. And welcome to this second episode of this podcast, and we call this episode Optimizing Hygienic Design for Competitive Advantage. I'm Mikkel Svold, and today we're joined by Tomas Hecht Olsen, who is the Chief Technical Officer and also deals with research and development at NGI Hygienic Components. Welcome to you, Tomas.
Thank you.
To set the stage now, Tomas, how would you define hygienic design?
It is a very big question, and I'm asked this very often. There's a lot of programs and knowledge about it. There's a lot of writing about it, but for me, it's like thinking surfaces, roundnesses, drainability, cleanability, making actually also at the same time quite a new machine. So this is the chance to redesign a machine, make it better, but of course easier to clean. And it's a combination of looking at all the things a machine needs to do, then redesigning so that you can easily clean it. Of course, you have to look at the standards also, and it has to be exactly to standards to get a certification, yes, but it's not actually necessary to make hygienic design. Hygienic design can just be thinking hygienic.
Mm-hmm. And just before when we were talking before we turned on the mics, you mentioned common sense also.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And can you be sure that people have the same common sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, most people have tried to wash floors and furniture and everything. So we all know where water runs and what is difficult to clean. I mean, underneath there's simply rules like everything has to be drainable. It's logical. Everything has to be like if you have two pieces put together, you need to have something in between so that you don't have water and dirt stuck there. Mm-hmm. So follow the relatively simple standard. I know that there are really a lot of things you have to read, but it's not that difficult. Normally, I would say 4 rules, maybe 5, but something like surfaces, radii, material choice, drainability, and then you're then you're a long way.
And have you seen, or do you generally see that people are focusing a lot on these 4 or 5 things you mentioned and on hygienic design, or is that something that is still in development?
I think most people actually gets afraid of how many rules and regulations and if you think about EH, 3A, USDA, and so on, but they are quite alike, and it is, of course, if you have a very complex machine, everything gets complex. But if for example, a good I think very much about, okay, if you start small, start with for example, the machine foot. That's a simple way to start something hygienic. Then you go to, let's say, a caster or like a leveling foot, a load cell. I mean, start small and then build them together, and then suddenly you have a whole hygienic certifiable machine. And it's start easy.
Yeah, so it's basically one step at the time, or one small piece at the time. You need to, I guess, optimize.
Because I mean, customers are looking at these machines like, okay, where do I start? And just start with a small bite.
Yeah, and when you say customers, that will be the machine builders, basically.
Yeah. And also, I think the end user is sometimes confused because they read all this stuff and doesn't know how really to say to the end user, okay, this is what I need, because it's so, there's so much written about this. So what we try to do, or what I try to do, is to show them, okay, you can take one piece at a time. So maybe change your machine feet, then change your casters, then change your bolts and nuts or whatever. And
and now, to me, not knowing much about how the machines are actually built and how the, so to say, industry is buying machines and developing machines, it sounds like a rather expensive process. How's the trade-off, and where does designing for hygienic or designing for hygiene, high hygiene, I guess, how does that translate into, I guess, a competitive advantage for both the machine builder, but also in the end, I guess, the brand owners, that could be Nestlé, Mondelez.
Yeah. It is difficult to make hygienic design same price or even cheaper. Sometimes we succeed in this, but you have to take into calculation, for example, the advantages when you clean. And of course, that this is not for the machine builder, but it's for the end user. You use less water, you use less chemicals, detergents, and so on. So that for the end user, it's really a good thing. But then, of course, then he would have to maybe pay a little bit more for his machine. But for the machine builder, I would say that it makes his machine very often much better looking. It makes it makes it more cutting edge. It looks a little bit like, okay, this is maybe a Mercedes. So
yeah,
it shines quality.
That's a really interesting take on that, because that basically means that designing or hygienic design that also adds to the brand value of the manufacturer.
Definitely. So what we make, I mean, stainless steel, really milled or grinded stainless steel. We can see this is stainless steel combined with deep blue ceilings, and that alone is okay. I designed it, so I kind of get...
You're kind of biased.
But it's I mean, it's so nice. It's so beautiful to make. I love it. I dream about this all day.
And do you see that for the machine builders and also, I guess, the end users, does that feel of quality, does that spill over?
Yeah. I definitely think so. And their machines look better. Well, it kind of, for me, it looks terrible when I see a machine with fully threaded machine feeds underneath. And I like the logo and everything. But also when we put in the load cells and the seismic feeds, and even now our bearing houses and the casters, they just make the machine something. It's like if you have a really nice car, you don't put old wheels on it. They have to have nice wheels, and
that's a really. I did not expect the interview to go this direction, I must admit. And but I'm also thinking there must also be some challenges that these companies face when they're trying to implement hygienic design. And again, I'm talking about the machine builders.
Yeah.
What challenges do they face when they're trying to improve the hygiene of their designs, and how do you kind of navigate that? So what challenges do you normally see?
Well, the easiest thing would just be for them to call me and I would help them. But yeah, the challenges, I think, is it's drainability, it's design, and it's thinking it in from the beginning, because a lot of things you cannot change later on. So of course they face some challenges, and it will be a bit more expensive. But it looks better, and it sends the right signal. In a time like this, for example, when it's important to take care of resources, water, detergent, and also, especially I think after COVID, when we realize that something terrible can happen if we don't look out for. Now, COVID didn't come from cleaning machinery,
but listeria or something.
But we have a lot of like listeria and all or other bacteria. So if we really look at the risks here, and there's a lot of accident that happens out there. Hygienic designs help not for these things to happen.
And also now you mentioned COVID. I guess fair to say that we're talking quite a lot about the food industry as the end user, but frankly, it could also be pharmaceuticals, medicine companies, or any other company that basically needs to have the entire production line completely clean.
Yeah.
Where you have a risk of transferring bacteria from one place to another, and you say, as the machine builder, the challenge is basically that you need to think it in from the beginning. But what if I have a successful machine that I've sold to hundreds and hundreds of companies out there? Does it make sense to say if you can kind of retrofit hygienic design, or how do you mend that? Because not always is it possible to redesign something from the very beginning, top down or bottom up.
We tried all our products. We try to make so that you can use it for a retrofit.
Okay.
It's not possible all the time, but most of the time you can just retrofit with our products. At least this is our goal to do it. But it's interesting. Can we do this? It depends on the company, actually. But we help a lot of companies out there changing machine feeds, and also casters. They get worn out, so you need to change them anyway. So why don't buy the best in the world? And I think I do the design, so actually it's not so much. The sales people I know are really talking a lot about retrofitting. So this is where they can help you on that question.
Yeah. Now, I guess looking forward in talking about this hygienic design, and looking forward in the growth of the technology, and I guess also the industry standards that might evolve. What, from your point of view, what do you expect to come, or what do you see in the future and near future and far future, maybe, of changes and developments that people should look out for?
I think the descriptions and the rules and guidelines will be better and better. So it will be easier for, as you said, both end users and machine builders to follow them. We will definitely make a lot of new products, come up with a lot of products. So looking into that, I think first of all, we will see a growth, really a big growth in hygienic designed machines. Maybe not all, and it's not actually expected by the rules. They just have to certifiable, but they just have to think hygienic. And
it's coming back to the common sense bit, actually. Also,
actually, it is. And then, of course, I would say that within maybe 5 or 10 years, we will see legislation, because then it would be a demand from the end user, for example, that this machine has to accommodate these rules, and so it is actually also with the 3A in the States very necessary to follow the rules there.
That's really great. Now, Thomas, before we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts or some guidance that businesses might need that we haven't already touched upon?
I think I would have the advice that just start it. It doesn't matter if it's certifiable or whatever. Just start with the small steps, as we talked about, the small steps and common sense, because that is what really is a good thing. I mean, it's good for the environment. It's good for everything. So just start small, and it gets better and better.
And then you can always progress to bigger and more complex elements of your or components of your machine, if so.
And we do so. I mean, we learned a lot from the first machine foot, and use that in developing further products. So.
Thank you so much, Tomas Hecht Olsen, for joining us today. It was really interesting having you here also with a more, I guess, design technical, at least, kind of angle to this topic. And to you, dear listener, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to keep getting these podcasts, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you like the episode and maybe other episodes if you've heard, please go get us or give us a 5-star rating and maybe even a short review if you want to. That really helps us quite a lot spreading this podcast out. So please don't hesitate to do that. That'll be a big help to us. Thank you so much for tuning in.